Every financial planner across the United States will tell you that you need at least $2 million to enjoy a comfy retirement. Some might even suggest $3 million. The more cautious ones might even say $5 million. The retirement planning sector has created a whole industry centered around persuading you that achieving freedom comes with a hefty price tag, that you'll require years of saving and making sacrifices, and that retiring before the age of 65 is just a dream for all but the richest folks. They're all mistaken, not just a little, but fundamentally mistaken, because they're focusing on the wrong factor. They're figuring out how much cash you need to keep your existing lifestyle in your current area with your current spending patterns. I'm here to share a different perspective. I'm going to explain how much money you actually need to stop working for someone else for good, to wake up each day and choose how to spend your time based on what's important to you rather than what brings in a paycheck, to have enough passive income so that working becomes a choice, not an obligation. Those are totally different questions with entirely distinct answers. And the response to the second question, which is the only one that really counts, is 300,000. Not 3 million, not 2 million, 300,000. Now, before you brush this off as unrealistic or overly optimistic or out of touch with reality, let me break down the math for you. Let me show you the geographic arbitrage calculations that the financial services sector doesn't want you to know about. Because if you grasped these figures, you'd see that you could achieve freedom in 5 to 10 years instead of 30 or 40, and they'd miss out on decades of management fees and commissions. This isn't just a pipe dream. This is basic math. It's been accurate for a century and will remain so for the next 100 years. And it all begins with grasping what retirement truly signifies. The retirement planning industry has led most folks to believe that retirement means keeping up their pre-retirement lifestyle forever. If you're shelling out $70,000 a year while you're on the job, you'll need enough cash to keep spending that same amount every year for the rest of your life once you retire. That sounds reasonable until you dig into the details. The first thing to consider is whether you really want to keep spending the same way. That's a no-go. A lot of what people spend in retirement is just to cope with the stress and time crunch of working. Think about it. Fancy dinners because you don't have time to whip up a meal at home. New outfits for the office. Lavish vacations since you only get a couple of weeks off each year. A nice ride because your daily commute is a drag and you deserve some comfort. Plus, you might splurge on entertainment and hobbies just to unwind from work-related stress. But once you take the job out of the equation, a lot of that spending isn't needed anymore. You've got time to cook your own meals. Work attire, not necessary. You can travel when prices are lower, and commuting, that's a thing of the past. You're not stressed out anymore, so you don't need those pricey ways to cope. The real expense of enjoying a good life without a job is anywhere from 30 to 50% lower than living that same life with a job. Now, let's move on to the second point. You'll be staying in the same location. Why is that? If your job is what keeps you tied to a pricey city, why stick around once the job is gone? The cost of living difference between San Francisco and Lisbon is a whopping 70%. When you compare New York to Chiang Mai, it's 85%. And between Seattle and Medellin, it's 75%. You can enjoy a much better quality of life in countless spots around the globe for just a fraction of what you're currently spending. Think about it. Nicer weather, tastier food, richer culture, more time outside, closer to nature, and stronger communities. The only reason to overlook these places is if you're held back by a job or family ties. Cut those ties and suddenly the whole world opens up to you at prices that make retirement achievable with way less money. Now, for the third point, you have to replace your income. That's not quite right. What you really need to do is cover your expenses. Those are two different figures. A lot of folks mix up income with expenses because during their working years, those figures are connected. Your earnings dictate how much you can spend. However, when you retire, income doesn't really matter. What counts are your expenses. If you can get by comfortably on $18,000 a year, you don't need to worry about replacing your income. You just need $18,000 annually. This is where the math gets fascinating. If you invest $300,000 wisely in dividend-paying stocks that yield 4%, you can pull in $12,000 a year in passive income without dipping into your initial investment. That breaks down to $1,000 a month. In the United States, $1,000 a month is considered poverty. In Portugal, it's a decent middle-class lifestyle. In Thailand, it's more like an upper-middle-class existence. In Colombia, Vietnam, Albania, or many other places, it's enough to rent a nice place, eat well, access health care, enjoy some entertainment, and even save a bit. It's not just about surviving, it's about comfort, security, and freedom. The financial services sector doesn't really want you to know this because their profits rely on handling as much of your cash for as long as they can. If they were honest and told you that $300,000, when invested wisely, could give you endless freedom, you might choose to retire at 40 instead of 65. That's a whole 25 years less of fees they can rake in. So instead, they play on your fears. They show you inflation calculators that assume you'll be spending the same amount for 40 years straight. They present healthcare cost estimates that presume you'll be using the pricey American system. They even provide longevity charts that imply you might live until 95 and need funding for 50 years. All of this is crafted to keep you saving, working, and paying fees for years on end. Here's what they don't reveal. If you take $300,000 and invest it in a well-diversified portfolio of dividend stocks and low-cost index funds, aiming for a 4% yield through a mix of dividends and safe withdrawals, you'd generate $12,000 a year, which breaks down to $1,000 a month. All right, let's talk about finding a spot where $1,000 a month lets you live pretty comfortably. We're not talking about anything fancy or luxurious here, just a nice, cozy life. Think about a one-bedroom place in a safe area. You can whip up some good meals at home and treat yourself to a meal out every now and then. You've got access to local health care, either through the national system or some affordable private insurance. Don't forget about the internet and phone, too. You can enjoy some low-key entertainment and hobbies, and maybe take a trip or two within the region. This kind of lifestyle can be found in places like Portugal, Spain, Greece, Mexico, Colombia, Ecuador, Thailand, Vietnam, Malaysia, Albania, Bulgaria, and at least 30 other countries. In a lot of these spots, living on $1,000 a month isn't just getting by, it's actually living pretty well by local standards. You'll find better weather than in most American cities, a richer food culture, a healthier work-life balance, more walkable towns, improved public transport, and stronger community ties. The quality of life here isn't any worse than what you'd find in the American middle class. It's often even better. The only thing you're sacrificing is being close to your family and friends, which is a big deal for some folks and not so much for others. If you're someone who can be flexible with where you live, $300,000 is truly enough to retire comfortably for good. I'm not just talking theory here. This is real life. There are tens of thousands of people living this way right now. The community of retirees taking advantage of geographic arbitrage is substantial and expanding. These are individuals who figured out that the retirement calculator suggesting they needed $2 million was based on keeping up an expensive lifestyle in a pricey area, and that a whole different set of numbers comes into play if they're open to relocating. Now let's tackle the common concerns because I've heard them all. The first concern is about healthcare. Healthcare in the United States can be incredibly costly without employer support. But remember, American healthcare isn't the only game in town. A lot of developed nations have public healthcare systems that are either free or pretty affordable for their residents. For instance, Portugal's National Health Service provides coverage for residents, including foreign retirees, for under $50 a month. Spain's system is quite similar. Numerous countries also have private health insurance options for foreign residents, with prices ranging from $100 to $300 a month for comprehensive plans. In Thailand, private hospitals deliver top-notch care at costs that are only 10 to 20% of what you'd pay in the United States. Medical tourism has become a huge industry, mainly because healthcare in many parts of the world is just a small fraction of American prices. For example, a knee replacement that sets you back $40,000 in the US costs around $8,000 in Spain and just $4,000 in Thailand. You get the same results, skilled surgeons and modern facilities. The argument against retiring in a different country based on healthcare is rooted in the belief that American healthcare is the best, which may hold true for cutting-edge experimental treatments, but is definitely not the case for everyday care. When it comes to regular care, plenty of nations provide similar or even better results at much lower prices. Now, let's tackle the second concern. What about inflation? That's a fair point. A withdrawal rate of 4% assumes that your initial amount keeps its buying power. If you're taking out $12,000 each year and inflation is at 3%, your actual ability to withdraw decreases over time. There are 3 ways to handle this. First, keep your $300,000 invested in stocks, which have historically outpaced inflation. If the market gives you a 7% return and you're withdrawing 4%, your principal grows by about 3%, roughly keeping up with inflation. This way, your $12,000 annual withdrawal still holds its value. Second, many folks who retire in places with lower costs find ways to earn a little extra cash. They might teach English online, do freelance consulting, run small online businesses, or create content. When you're living on $12,000 a year, bringing in an extra $3,000 or $4,000 from occasional gigs can make a significant impact and is pretty easy to pull off without needing a conventional job. All right, let's dive into this with a fresh take. Thirdly, flexibility in your way of living. If inflation chips away at your buying power by around 15 to 20% over 10 years, you adapt. Maybe you shift to a more affordable neighborhood. You start whipping up more meals at home. You cut back on travel. The gap between $12,000 in yearly expenses and just getting by is pretty huge in countries where the cost of living is lower. A few small tweaks can help you keep a good quality of life, even if your buying power takes a hit. Now, let's tackle the third concern. What about family and friends? That's a valid point. Retiring with geographic arbitrage means you might be far from your current social circle unless they decide to join you. For some folks, that's not really an option. You've got aging parents, little kids, or deep ties to your community. If you're really anchored to a place by obligations that can't be changed, then $300,000 probably won't cut it unless you're in a budget-friendly area in the US. But a lot of people tend to overestimate how connected they really are. Grown-up kids often don't need you right next door. Video chats and yearly visits can keep those bonds strong. Sure, having aging parents can be a genuine challenge, but it's usually only temporary. There are definitely ways to manage care from afar if needed. Friends tend to drift apart as time goes by, no matter where they are. The pals you had in your 20s aren't necessarily the same ones you keep in your 40s. New friendships pop up wherever you find yourself. The retirement community focused on geographic arbitrage is filled with folks who were anxious about feeling isolated, but they discovered that they quickly formed new social circles in their new spots, often even stronger connections than what they left behind, since the shared experience of taking an unconventional route really helps to forge those bonds. I'm not downplaying the impact of being far from family. What I'm saying is that it's a cost that's worth evaluating honestly, instead of just assuming it's too much to handle. For some, it truly is too much. For others, it's a trade-off they're ready to accept for years of freedom. Now, on to the fourth concern. What if things go sideways? What if you find yourself needing more cash? What if an emergency pops up? There are two responses to that. First off, you still have $300,000. It's invested, not gone. If a genuine emergency pops up, you can tap into that cash. You're not stuck with the 4% withdrawal rule. It's more of a suggestion for sustainable long-term withdrawals, not a strict law. If you find yourself needing to pull out 8% in a given year due to an emergency, go for it. Your financial runway might get a bit shorter, but you'll manage the situation. Next, the flexibility works in both directions. Imagine you leave your job with $300,000 at 40, spend a decade living on $12,000 a year in a low-cost retirement spot, and then decide you want to jump back into the workforce. You can totally do that. You're 50 with $300,000 still in your account, maybe even more if the markets were kind, plus a decade of life experiences that most folks never get to have. You're not stuck in a corner. You're enjoying a 10-year break funded by your savings, with the option to start earning again if your situation or desires shift. Let's make this real with actual figures in real locations, because theoretical numbers don't really persuade anyone. Let's start with the first scenario. Lisbon, Portugal. You can find a one-bedroom flat in a nice area for around 600 to 800 euros each month, which is roughly $650 to $850. Bills, including internet, come to about $100 monthly. If you're cooking most of your meals at home and eating out occasionally, groceries for one person will set you back about $300 to $400 a month. Healthcare through the Portuguese national system costs around $40 a month. Getting around using public transport and the odd taxi will run you about $50 monthly. Your phone bill is around $20. For fun, hobbies, and other miscellaneous costs, you might spend about $100 to $150 each month. All in all, your monthly expenses will be somewhere between $1,200 to $1,400, which adds up to about $14,000 to $17,000 a year. You're living in a stunning European city with amazing food, fantastic weather, safe streets, walkable neighborhoods, and easy access to the rest of Europe with budget flights. By any reasonable measure, your quality of life is pretty high. $300,000, bringing in $12,000 each year, gets you pretty close to your goal with just a little gap that you can fill by doing some freelance gigs or by tightening your budget a bit. Now, let's talk about scenario 2, Chiang Mai, Thailand. You can find a one-bedroom apartment in a nice neighborhood with a pool and gym for around $300 to $400 a month. Utilities, which include high-speed internet, will run you about $50. For food, even if you enjoy dining out at local spots, you're looking at around $300. Private health insurance will cost you about $100. If you rent a scooter for getting around, that's another $50. Your phone bill will be around $10. And for entertainment and other odds and ends, budget about $100. So in total, you're looking at roughly $900 to $1,000 a month, which adds up to about $11,000 to $12,000 a year. You'll be living in a vibrant city with amazing food, warm weather all year long, top-notch healthcare at reasonable prices, a strong expat community, and Southeast Asia right at your doorstep for weekend getaways. That $300,000 generating $12,000 annually will cover all of this with some extra cash left over. Now, let's move on to scenario 3. Medellin, Colombia. A one-bedroom apartment in the Poblado or Laureles neighborhoods will set you back about $400 to $600 a month. Utilities will be around $70. For food, you can budget about $250. Health insurance will be around $120. Getting around with the subway and cabs? That's about $60. Your phone bill? Around $15. For fun and games, plan on spending around $100. All in all, you're looking at roughly $1,000 to $1,200 each month, which adds up to about $12,000 to $14,000 in a year. You're enjoying life in a city known for its endless spring, where the weather is always on point, the coffee scene is amazing, healthcare is budget-friendly, there's a growing expat crowd, and safety is on the rise. $300,000 would cover all this with a little room to spare. Now, let's stack that against the expenses of living a basic middle-class lifestyle in American cities. If you're renting a studio or a one-bedroom in a mid-tier American city, like Austin or Denver, you're looking at a minimum of $1,500 to $2,000 every month. Add in utilities, which can be around $150, and food, which could be $500 if you whip up most meals. Health insurance will run anywhere from $400 to $700, based on your age and the plan you choose. Then there's your car payment or transport costs, which can range from $300 to $500. Don't forget your phone bill, which is around $60, and entertainment, which might set you back another $150. When you tally that up, you're easily hitting a minimum of $3,000 to $4,000 each month, translating to $36,000 to $48,000 a year. To pull in $36,000 annually at a 4% withdrawal rate, you're going to need $900,000 saved up. To reach $48,000, that figure jumps to $1.2 million. That's 3 to 4 times the amount of money needed for a geographic arbitrage retirement if you want a similar or even lower quality of life. This is exactly why the usual retirement advice is so off base. It's based on the priciest scenario possible and labels that as the bare minimum you need. Now, let's dive into how you can actually build up $300,000 because the timeline is crucial. If you're 25 and save like crazy, hitting $300,000 is doable by 35 or 40. If you're 45, you can reach it by 50 or 55. If you're already 60, the timeline shifts a bit, but the goal is still way more attainable than $2 million. Here's the breakdown. Let's say you can stash away $2,000 each month, which adds up to $24,000 a year. That's a stretch, but it's doable for someone making $75,000 to $100,000 a year, who lives simply and values freedom over spending. If you invest that $24,000 annually in low-cost stock index funds with an average return of 8%, after 10 years, you'll have $360,000. After 15 years, you'll be looking at $670,000. Compound interest does a lot of the heavy lifting if you let it do its thing over time and avoid messing it up with withdrawals or panicking during market dips. Now, if saving $2,000 each month feels out of reach, just tweak your timeline. Set aside $1,000 every month, which adds up to $12,000 a year. After 15 years with an 8% return, you'd be looking at around $270,000. It's not quite $300,000, but it's close enough that a few extra years of moderate effort or moving to a less expensive area could make it happen. Fast forward to 20 years, and you'd have about $460,000, well above the mark. The key takeaway is that hitting $300,000 is doable within a sensible time frame. For folks with middle-class salaries who are ready to save diligently and keep their spending in check during their saving years. It's not a walk in the park. It takes commitment and some sacrifices, plus resisting the urge to inflate your lifestyle as your income grows. But it's achievable in a way that aiming for 2 or 3 million isn't realistic for most people. Here's how the accumulation phase actually plays out in real life. You might be living in an affordable neighborhood or sharing a place with others to keep your housing expenses down. You probably drive an older car that you take care of yourself. Most of your meals are cooked at home. You might have some side gigs to boost your earnings. You steer clear of consumer debt altogether. Instead of upgrading your lifestyle, you put every pay increase and bonus into investments. You keep a close eye on your spending to spot any waste. You make the most of your taxes by using retirement accounts. You skip pricey hobbies and avoid showing off through consumption. This might sound pretty bleak to folks who are all about enjoying the present, but for those focused on future freedom, it feels liberating. The key difference here is how you view time. If you prioritize today's comfort over tomorrow's freedom, you'll likely spend your raises on a fancier apartment, a better car, and nicer vacations. On the flip side, if you value tomorrow's freedom more than today's comfort, you'll save those raises and let them grow. Neither approach is wrong. They just reflect different values leading to different results. What I'm saying is that the second option can lead to optional work in about 10 to 20 years, depending on where you start and how much you save. The first option, however, means you'll have to work until you're in your 60s or 70s. A lot of folks say they want freedom, but their spending habits show they actually prefer comfort. The few who truly opt for freedom and adjust their actions accordingly find that $300,000 in geographic arbitrage can make that freedom possible much sooner than they were led to believe. Now, let's tackle one more concern because it's the toughest one for many people to face. The concern is this: I don't want to leave America. I don't want to live in another country, learn a new language, eat different food, or be surrounded by a different culture. I just want the life I have without the need to work for it. This concern really shows whether geographic arbitrage retirement is a realistic option for you. If you're the kind of person who finds your sense of self and comfort in American culture, the American way of living, the American closeness to family and all things American, then no, 300,000 probably won't cut it for you. You'd need a bigger financial cushion to support a pricier lifestyle. But I'd really suggest you take a moment to think about whether that preference is something genuine and profound or just surface level and situational. A lot of folks believe they could never be content living overseas, yet after spending a couple of weeks in places like Portugal, Mexico, or Thailand, they discover that not only can they be happy, but they might even be happier. Better weather lifts your spirits. A rich food culture benefits your health. Cities that are easier to walk around in boost your fitness. A slower pace can ease stress. A stronger sense of community enhances relationships, and lower expenses can provide a sense of security. Many aspects that contribute to a fulfilling life are often more accessible in countries with lower costs than in American cities designed primarily for work and consumption. The preference for life in America often leans more towards what's familiar rather than what's actually better. When folks get a taste of the alternatives, a good chunk of them end up liking it more. Not everyone, of course. Some genuinely find their happiness in American culture and systems. And for those individuals, the idea of geographic arbitrage doesn't really apply. However, a lot of people think they belong to that group without ever giving it a shot. I'm suggesting you give it a try before concluding that your only route to retirement is stashing away $2 million. Here's a little experiment for you. Take a month off. Spend 4 weeks in a place like Lisbon, Shanghai, or Medi. Rent a spot on Airbnb. Cook your own meals. Stroll through the neighborhoods. Use public transport. Hit up a gym. Visit coffee shops. Live like a local, not a tourist. Keep a close eye on your expenses. By the end of the month, you'll have real data instead of just guesses. You'll find out what it truly costs to live there. You'll discover if you could actually be happy in that place. You'll figure out if the trade-offs are worth it. For around $2,000 in total, you can find out if retiring through geographic arbitrage is a good fit for you. That's the most affordable and beneficial financial planning you can undertake. Because if you discover it works for you, you could cut down your working years by 10 or 20. If it doesn't, you gain some valuable insights about yourself and can tweak your plans as needed. A lot of folks never take this step. They think they know the outcome without actually testing it. Then they end up spending 30 years chasing a retirement goal based on unverified assumptions. That's just crazy. Go and test that theory. Spend a month in Portugal. If you don't like it, you've only lost a month and $2,000. If you enjoy it, you could be looking at decades of freedom. The potential upside of that gamble is huge. Now, let's dive into what life is really like in geographic arbitrage retirement, because the specifics are important. You wake up without needing an alarm clock. The initial hour of your day belongs to you. Whether it's sipping coffee, diving into a book, jotting down thoughts, working out, or anything else that resonates with you. There's no rush hour, no back-to-back meetings, and no urgent emails waiting for a reply. You get to shape your day based on what excites you and how much energy you have, rather than feeling pressured by duties. Perhaps you tinker with a side project that brings in a little cash. Maybe you pick up a new language. You could be writing, painting, or crafting something unique. Or perhaps you choose to exercise, read, and whip up a fancy meal. You might even catch up with friends over coffee and spend a few hours chatting away. Maybe you stroll through your city without any specific destination in mind. The framework is entirely up to you. Some folks find this concept pretty daunting. Without a set structure and responsibilities, they struggle to figure out how to fill their time. These individuals aren't the best fit for retiring early. They thrive on having a job to help them manage their schedule and give their life meaning. On the flip side, there are those who see endless time as the ultimate luxury. They have more passions than hours in the day to chase them. They've spent years feeling stuck because they had to trade 40 to 60 hours a week for a paycheck. These folks really shine in geographic arbitrage retirement. It's crucial to figure out what type you are before diving into this journey. A good way to find out is by observing how you feel during your weekends and holidays. If you find yourself feeling bored and lost without a work routine, you either need a job or you should work on building your ability to direct yourself before you retire. On the other hand, if you feel energized and involved during your free time, but get frustrated when it's time to head back to work, you're likely to flourish in retirement. This isn't just about how old you are or how much cash you have. It's really about your mindset. The next thing that shifts in geographic arbitrage retirement is your whole perspective on money. While you're employed, money is mostly about earning it. It's all about how much you bring in if you got a pay bump, and how your earnings stack up against others. Every financial choice you make is seen through the lens of your income. When you find yourself in a retirement phase where you're taking advantage of geographic arbitrage, living off the passive income generated from your investments, money shifts its role entirely to just spending and saving. You're not focused on boosting your earnings. Instead, you're looking to fine-tune your expenditures to enhance your life's quality within a set budget. This leads to a totally different mindset. You start to pay close attention to how valuable your purchases really are. A meal that costs $100 isn't just $100. It represents 1/10 of your monthly food budget. So is that specific dinner worth giving up that amount? Sometimes, sure. Often, not really. This doesn't mean you're being stingy. It means you're being deliberate. You're willing to spend freely on things that truly enrich your life, while being ruthless about cutting back on things that don't serve you. Over time, you gain a clear understanding of what actually brings you joy, compared to what you've spent on out of routine or peer pressure. Most individuals never reach this level of awareness because they're always in earning mode, constantly able to spend more by working longer. When your income is limited and steady, you're compelled to make your spending more efficient. This ends up being one of the major perks of retiring through geographic arbitrage. It's not just about being financially secure, but also about gaining a clearer understanding of your values when you have to make real choices. The next thing that happens is that your perspective on time shifts. When you're grinding away and thinking about 3 or 4 decades until the usual retirement age, your planning feels pretty limited. You're focused on what's happening this year, this quarter, or even this month. But when you step away from work at 40 with enough funds to last you for the long haul, you start to think in terms of 40 or 50-year plans. What do you envision your life being like at 60, 70, or 80? What really counts over the span of decades instead of just years? This extended time frame alters everything. Relationships become more significant. Your health takes on greater importance. The pursuit of knowledge becomes a priority. Meanwhile, status and material possessions start to matter less. You come to understand that the next 40 years will be influenced by the habits, connections, and skills you cultivate. All right, so here's the deal. A lot of folks don't really think about this because they're stuck in the grind of short-term jobs, yearly evaluations, quarterly goals, and monthly expenses. When you dive into geographic arbitrage retirement, it pushes you to think long-term, since you're following a strategy that spans years. At first, this can feel a bit weird psychologically, but over time, it turns into one of the best parts of this way of living. Just to clarify what I'm not saying, I'm not suggesting that everyone should chase after geographic arbitrage retirement. I'm not claiming that $300,000 is sufficient for everyone in every situation. I'm not arguing that living overseas is better than living in America. What I'm getting at is that for a certain kind of person, someone who can be flexible with where they live, has moderate spending habits, can direct their own path, and is open to a different way of life, $300,000 can truly make work optional for as long as they want. This probably applies to about 20 to 30% of people, not everyone, but definitely a significant minority. If you find yourself in that small group, the usual retirement advice suggesting you need 2 or 3 million is completely off base. It could keep you grinding away for many more years than you really need to, since it relies on assumptions that just don't fit your situation. The retirement planning world tends to use the priciest scenario as the standard and labels everyone else's circumstances as exceptions. I'm here to tell you something different. Geographic arbitrage retirement should be the standard calculation, while costly domestic retirement should be seen as the exception that needs a solid reason. If you decide to stick around in America and work until you hit 2 million, that's fine. Just make sure it's a choice you genuinely want, not one based on outdated beliefs. Figure out what true freedom would cost you personally, considering how flexible you can be with your location. Then weigh whether those extra years of work are worth the added comfort of staying in the States. For some folks, it is. For others, it isn't. However, a lot of folks never take the time to do the math. They simply believe they need 2 million because that's what the calculators indicate. Now, here's the last piece of the puzzle. $300,000 at a 4% withdrawal rate brings in $12,000 each year. That's the bare minimum, assuming you have no other income coming in. But nearly everyone who's into geographic arbitrage retirement isn't sitting on zero extra income. The internet has made it super easy for anyone with skills that are in demand to earn money from anywhere. Teaching English online can earn you anywhere from $15 to $25 an hour. If you're good at freelance writing, you could make between $50 and $100 an hour. Consulting in your area of expertise can net you $100 to $300 an hour. Plus, creating online courses can bring in passive income. Developing small software products can also generate passive income. None of this requires a traditional job. You can do all of it on your own time from anywhere with an internet connection. If you manage to pull in an extra $3,000 to $6,000 a year from some freelance gigs, your total annual income could jump from $12,000 to $15,000 or even $18,000. That extra safety net means you're not living on the edge. You've got some leeway for inflation, for those occasional bigger expenses, for trips, for anything really. A lot of folks in the geographic arbitrage retirement scene find that they naturally bring in some cash from projects that spark their interest. Not because they need to, but when you're not drained from a job, you've got the energy for creative and productive stuff. That kind of work often brings in some money. The end result is that $300,000 plus a modest income from engaging projects leads to a more comfortable and sustainable way of living than just $12,000 from savings alone. Retirement calculators in the industry usually assume no income after retiring, which might make sense for someone at 70, but doesn't really apply to someone in their 40s or 50s. People in their 40s or 50s who are no longer tied to a job typically figure out ways to make money doing things they actually enjoy. This income doesn't really feel like work since it's optional and engaging, but it's actual income that makes the $300,000 baseline more than adequate. So let me break it down for you. $300,000 is sufficient to make having a job optional if you're okay with living in a more affordable area, spending wisely, staying adaptable, and being open to earning some cash from projects that spark your interest. That's a particular set of circumstances. A lot of folks won't fit into that, or might not want to. But for those who do, $300,000 is truly enough. This isn't just a theory, it's the real deal. Thousands of people are living this lifestyle right now. The community of geographic arbitrage retirees is real and expanding. They're not struggling, they're not just getting by. They're enjoying comfortable, engaging, and meaningful lives with optional work and plenty of free time. They're diving into hobbies, building relationships, learning, and traveling. They're healthier than their counterparts who are still hustling in corporate jobs. They're happier. They serve as evidence that the typical retirement schedule is not set in stone, that you don't actually need $2 million, and that you can achieve freedom way earlier than you've been led to believe. The real question is if you're ready to challenge your beliefs, explore your preferences, fine-tune your spending, and make some out-of-the-box decisions. If you're up for it, $300,000 in the year 2026 give you a solid goal and a tight time frame. Begin crunching the numbers. Start putting money aside. Begin scouting out different places. Start developing skills that allow you to earn income from anywhere. Freedom is nearer than you realize. The only thing left to ask is if you're motivated enough to chase it.